This is your Daily Detroit for Friday, September 11th, 2020. Today, we'll cover some stories to know around Metro Detroit. We have an update on rising COVID-19 cases and positive test percentages. A Warren family is dealing with dangerous racism, and it has echoes that I'll share to our region's past. Then, engineer Randy Walker talks about Pumachug, the hot new thing in downtown Clawson. Let's get started after we thank our members, including our newest, Taylor, plus Bob, who upped their support and is getting a bourbon glass. We appreciate your kind comments around the election episode we did this week. If you haven't, remember to become a member at patreon.com/dailydetroit. We have a new goal of signing up 25 members. It would be quite awesome if we could do that. We want to get some more audio gear out to our contributors and do some other things. Well, enough chatter. Let's get started. We haven't dived into the coronavirus case count in a couple days, and it is time. Governor Gretchen Whitmer, in a conversation streamed for the Detroit Regional Chamber earlier this week, gave the warning that we are in the, quote, relatively early stages of the virus, unquote. I promise we'll dive more into that statement from a medical perspective next week. But first, our case numbers. Friday brings us a much higher number of confirmed cases, 1,313. That's on the heels of more than 900 yesterday. That's along with 9 fatalities. This is the highest daily case count since April 24th. So since the pandemic started, Michigan has suffered more than 110,800 cases and 6,578 deaths. Critically, the positive test rate has also increased. It's up to 4.25%. That's getting dangerously close to that 5% number health officials want to keep under to keep a number of things open and above an optimal 3% target. As you can guess, Michigan's viral spread rate has increased to 1.07 as the country starts to see more virus transmission, and that's according to RT.live. So, how are Michiganders feeling? A poll out Wednesday by WDIV says that the governor's approval rating around handling the virus is 61%. There was a Trump campaign rally at an airport hangar in Freeland, Michigan on Thursday night. Thousands of supporters gathered in close proximity without masks. Many interviewed believe the virus is a hoax or not serious. This illustrates the urban-rural divide around the virus. As the Tri-County area dealt with lots of cases, rural areas have been dealing with lots of cases per capita. But in general, outstate Michigan has a more cavalier approach to the pandemic. I'd note here that Saginaw County, where Freeland is already considered an area of accelerated coronavirus spread by the Harvard Global Health Institute's tracking page, where stay-at-home orders or other large measures would be advised. A New York Times reporter, a former Free Press staffer, Kathy Gray, was thrown out of the Trump event for sharing pictures and working the event not in the approved media section. She had not received a press credential and went to the rally in the general admission section. She gained more than 120,000 followers overnight on her Twitter account at @MishPolygal after sharing photos. As someone who has covered rallies and political events in past lives, campaigns can get testy around being outside of the media zone as they cannot easily filter who the press talks to. Gray had been sharing photos of the rally that was clearly in violation of Governor Whitmer's orders around public events. Here's a disturbing news item from Warren, reminiscent of the days when black families were terrorized as they moved into Detroit in years past. Eric and Candace Hall own a home in the Macomb County suburb, and they've endured a series of racist, intimidating acts. Monday, a rock was thrown through their living room window. Wednesday, their vehicles were vandalized by having their tires slashed and then swastikas painted on with the words, "Terrorists, Black Lives Matter," and "Not Welcome." Security footage shows a white man in a full-body outfit slinking around their home with a gun on Thursday night. The suspect fired 2 shots into the home, 1 into the living room. However, Eddie Hall, speaking for the family, says that they're not going anywhere. Warren Mayor Jim Fouts, in a statement, said that he was outraged and upset by a cowardly act of what appears to be a racially motivated attack. And he goes on to say that it is completely unacceptable and will not be tolerated in our city, unquote. Warren police have recovered 6 9mm shell casings. They believe the suspect lives in the neighborhood, and there is a $3,000 reward for any information leading to an arrest. So, beyond these top-line items, I wanted to add some context to this. Metro Detroit has a long history of racial intimidation. Black families moving into white neighborhoods has rarely been welcomed throughout our history. My dad, who grew up on Dickerson in Detroit, told me about how if a black family moved in, some pickup trucks would be in by some time to pull their front porches off. And this happened all the time, and usually in pretty short order. I know among the most incendiary things we've done by accident is share a map of racial change and how it's happened in our region on our Facebook page, when I have the comments turn into a disaster and my hate mail triples. With that in mind, a literal landmark example everyone should know of the kinds of segregation that happened and happens in our area, and from experience reporting and talking to listeners, I will tell you it still does, is the case of Dr. Asin Sweet. In the summer of 1925, Dr. Sweet, an African-American physician, bought a home at 2905 Garland in an all-white middle-class neighborhood. He moved his family there on September 8th. That night, a crowd gathered around the house, but other than a short barrage of rocks, not much happened. The next night, fearing more violence, Sweet invited a few friends over. As expected, another crowd formed and began throwing rocks at the house. Shortly afterward, shots rang out from Sweet's house. One killed a man and a second injured another. 6 police officers arrived and arrested all 11 occupants of the house, taking them to the police station. There, the Sweets and their guests learned that a man had been killed and another wounded. They were interviewed separately, and they all denied shooting anyone. Early the next morning, the Sweets and their friends were informed that they were to be charged with first-degree murder. They were denied bail at their preliminary hearing, and the trial date was set for October 30th. The NAACP stepped in after hearing about the case and asked Arthur Garfield Hayes and Clarence Darrow to take the case. Hayes and Darrow agreed, and they arrived in Detroit to piece together the events of September 8th from the defendants. Darrow put up a good fight at the trial, and after 46 hours of deliberation, the all-white jury was unable to come to a decision. Judge Frank Murphy, who also became a Detroit mayor and the Murphy Hall of Justice is named after him, declared a mistrial, and Asin Sweet was free to go. His brother Henry, however, was tried separately the next year, but he was also acquitted. Dr. Asin Sweet's decision to defend his home and the resulting court case set a precedent for the rights of Detroit's African-American community, though it would be decades before African-Americans had more equal rights in practice in the city. The sad part is Dr. Sweet was never the same. He had a series of misfortunes, had to sell the house, and committed suicide in 1960. The emotional toll of these acts is a real thing. People assembling in mobs outside of your house, throwing rocks, or slinking through your side yard is a terrifying thing. The Sweet home still stands, and I encourage you to go see the marker. This incident was almost a century ago, but we're dealing with the same kind of thing, intimidation, scare, fear of the other, today. And it's something we should think about. In an update to a story we previously told you about, the beat will now go on at the Detroit Institute of Music Education in downtown Detroit. We had reported that the degree programs of the school would stop due to the lack of an accrediting college partner. Now comes word that Oakland University has stepped in to fill that gap. They will be providing Bachelor of Arts degrees in performance, songwriting, and music industry business classes to students wanting to study commercial music or pursue a career in music. As part of the deal, current Dime students can transfer to Oakland University to continue the program. Press materials say that many of the current faculty will continue to teach the programs, and that there will be shared campus experiences with Oakland University, as well as OU events at Dime's live music venue in downtown Detroit. New students can enroll at Oakland University to take general education and music core classes in fall of 2020. We've learned another local bar is temporarily closing. Barter in Hamtramck on Jos Campo has ended service as the weather has gotten chillier and it no longer makes sense to serve outside. They shared this in a post on Instagram and at their establishment that they will be closed until inside service at bars is reopened by the state. I'd also note that me and engineer Randy enjoyed a socially distanced cocktail on their patio a while back. It made me wonder why on earth Jos Campo is such a wide street north of Kniff, but that is a story for another day. There's also an opening to tell you about. This is up in Milford in Oakland County. Beyond Juicery Eatery has planted a flag there with a new juice bar that includes outdoor seating. It'll be open the morning of Saturday, September 19th at 405 North Main Street. They're doing a bunch of local collaborations, including drinks inspired by their neighborhood businesses. Beyond Juice does a lot of salads, wraps, and smoothies, so food for the health conscious. Exclusive to the Milford location will be gluten-free selections from Grand Rapids-based GFB, or Gluten Free Bar. And there's a freebie, and I know from your feedback you all love the free stuff. On opening day, they're giving away a free small strawberry banana smoothie from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Downtown Milford is, in a word, cute. And if you're going to do a little socially distanced road trip, it's something to check out on a weekend. Catching up in the North End studio, socially distant backyard, engineer Randy Walker is here to talk about a place he checked out and wanted to give you a little bit of a preview of called Pumachug. It's in downtown Clawson at 14 in Main, but this used to be another space.
Yeah, that's right. Pumachug took over the space that was formerly Black Lotus Brewery.
Now, I remember that place. It wasn't my favorite, but I know lots of people absolutely loved it. And downtown Clawson is kind of cute, and it's got a lot of things starting to happen.
Yeah, there are some fun places in downtown Clawson. I went to Black Lotus once, but never really saw a reason to go back.
So, Pumachug. I feel like I want to go Pumachugga, like some kind of drinking chant or something. But what's behind this name?
Yeah, Pumachug is actually a nickname for Clawson, and it comes from the sound of old mills that used to operate in the area in the 1800s.
I read somewhere that the city of Clawson, there was this guy named Clyde Lawson with the post office. And I guess that's one of the urban legends. It was just like Clawson. And it's interesting that Pumachug, I guess, is a nickname for this place.
Yeah, it was another name for Clawson based on the sound of those mills. They used to operate at 14 Mile and Livernois. There was a lumber mill and a cider mill at that location.
I gotta admit, a cider mill being that close would still be kind of nice. I'm not gonna lie.
It would be handy.
It is that season, right? We're right up on that season. The donuts and now I'm thinking about that. But anyway, back to the thing at hand. I know, Randy, you are a big fan of the drink. It needs to be made well. You care about the drinks. What's the story with those?
Yeah, they have quite an extensive drink menu, several drafts, several bottles, and then lots of interesting cocktails. I actually ordered the Berry Bliss, which is made with local Valentine White Blossom vodka and seasonal berries.
No blueberries?
There were no blueberries visible, and I didn't detect them. There was actually a blackberry floating in the glass.
So for people who may not remember, Randy hates blueberries, so we're just going to torture him constantly about that. So to remind people, this is kind of like a first look. We're doing kind of like your 5 things around Pumachug as opposed to a full review because this place just opened recently, right? So we can't really kick the tires on it, but we want to give you the heads up that it's around. So let's talk about the food.
Yeah, this is a brand new place, so they are still getting some kinks out that we'll get to later. But we started with the K-fried chicken appetizer, which they also offer as a cauliflower dish for vegans. And this is a breaded chicken strip dish tossed in a sweet chili sauce, topped with sesame seeds and served on a bed of cabbage, and it was delicious.
That sounds really good.
Yeah, if you order it, make sure to get some of the scallions they sprinkle around it in every bite to help accent the flavor there.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. That sounds great. I understand they also have quite the chicken sandwich.
Yeah, some of the dishes our waitress recommended were the chicken sandwich, the K-fried chicken appetizer, and also their vegan burger. She obviously was recommending the chicken, so she's not a vegan, but she said it didn't even put her off being a vegan dish.
All right, so the question I have for you, Randy, not only do you not like blueberries, but you're pretty persnickety about your fries. This is the thing, and I feel even nervous handing the mic over to you. Let's talk about the fries.
This is one of the things they need to work on. I ordered my fries well done, and they were still not crispy. I feel like they only cook them once, and so cooking them for as long as they did to make them well done kind of almost made them taste acrid and almost burnt. I feel like double cooking the fries would improve the taste and the texture.
The word from Randy. Everyone, be careful with your fries when Randy comes around. It's just a thing with him. I don't know. In fact, I'll tell you, there are very few restaurants that get away from Randy's clutches when it comes to fries. Now, did you try any dessert?
I did. They had an apple crumble available, but this was the other issue I had that night. They served it in a large teacup, so it was a very deep dish.
It's a very pretty setup.
It is, but for something like that, it takes a long time to heat through, and it didn't. They didn't cook it or heat it long enough, so the inside was still ice cold.
Okay. Well, I mean, I can tell by the look on your face about the disappointment around this. And to be clear, this is constructive criticism because it seems like you enjoyed this experience.
Oh yeah, I would definitely go back. These are just a few things that I thought they could work on.
All right, so finally, let's talk about environment. What kind of vibe is this place? Is this good for like a date spot? What are we talking about here?
This is a great date spot. It's got booths, it's got tables, it's got a bar. The lighting inside was dim, and the bar had a red backlight behind it. And then they also have outside seating with patios. So it's perfectly safe to go out to sit outside or inside. They've got plexiglass separating the booths inside.
Yeah, whatever you're comfortable with. I mean, me, I am a outdoor diner myself still. It's just my preference, but I know some folks are more comfortable.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons we ended up going to this spot is we drove by and saw that they did have the outside dining, so we stopped in.
One note here I saw about this to talk about is key, and I think this is important with so many restaurants, is the staff.
Yeah, from the host to the server to the food runner, everybody that we interacted with was super friendly, super nice, and super efficient.
Well, it's good to hear about it. 14 Mile in Maine, downtown Clawson. These were the 5 things to know about Pumachug. Randy, good to talk to you, and until we share a plate again.
I'll be back.
Alrighty, that'll do it for today's show. If you have feedback, want to leave a question, or just say hi, our voicemail line is 313-789-3211. That's 313-789-3211. We're also sending our newsletter thing, an emphasis on the letter part, semi-regularly out of dailydetroit@gmail.com, and that's also where you can email us. As it's the end of the week, thanks are in order. Cheyenne Nocerini, audio editor extraordinaire. Engineer Randy Walker, Fletcher Sharp for keeping our sports cutting edge. Karen Dybus, who is always a joy to talk to. Of course, Sven Gustafson, who is on pandemic parenting duty and juggling a bunch of projects. Next week, we should have another great tasting episode for you with him. We had hoped for this week, but it just wasn't in the cards. And this time, it's with wine. Plus, I'm working on more stories up in Warren to add some context to things. And a conversation with that new Michigan Opera Theater director we told you about earlier this week, Yuval Sharon. I think he has some interesting things to bring to the table. So with that, I'm Jer Stays. As it is 9/11, never forget, hug your loved ones and your dogs, cats, birds, whatever and whoever you love. Take care of each other. We'll talk Monday.